Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tilting Ground Untitled Notre Dame USC Football Podcast. I'm USC fan Michael Muto. I'm here with Notre Dame expert Greg Famong. Greg, it's been a long time since we've done this. And anything new?
It's my fault, Michael.
I wouldn't say fault. Fault's such a strong word.
So look, it's so when it was announced that my wife was having our third child, you and Andrew Wynn from 1 Foot Down told me that that's bad math. There's two of us, and I didn't really believe it. I just felt like, I had two and everything's fine. And, I can handle it. And right now I can't really handle it, Michael.
I believe, actually, I came down on one is bad math because it's a lot. So I don't know how you do three.
The problem is the boy, the 2-year-old, he's so into, he wants everything. He has to have everything. If he doesn't get it, he screams and yells, and it's a big problem. and it's just impossible to keep them off the baby. The 4-year-old is like, she always wants to be like right in her face. She's like 2 weeks old, and I just can't. Like, we tell her don't do it. Like, she'll be sitting there. And sometimes she falls asleep in her little car seat, because, you take them for a drive somewhere and they fall asleep.
Right.
Then you just take them in and you just leave them in the car seat in the house and you cover them up with a blanket. And it's really hard to get these kids to sleep. So we tell her, please don't go under the blanket. Okay. Wait for her to wake up. Then you can touch
that's
her leg.
Like candy for her.
And it's just, she runs over and just peeks in. And she thinks, like, I know they said not to, but I'm going to do it because what could the harm be? And then the baby wakes up, and then I want to throw the 4-year-old 100 feet into the air. So
just a quick recap. If
that's
somehow
where I'm at. That's why we haven't had a podcast. We were supposed to have a podcast, and I told Michael, I said, we're not in a place to do it yet.
So nothing had happened. It was the holidays. It's been slow. USC doesn't have a bowl game anyways. So,
we did have this signing day.
We had signing day. We had offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. Now we have some Clemson news. So we got some stuff now. So it works out.
We can talk about it.
Exactly. So now the two parents are back. We got We're here. We're doing the podcast. Let's start with USC because that's the lightest news.
Uh-huh.
So last we left everyone, the rumor was that they were going to sign Cliff Kingsbury. They did sign offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. All our thoughts from the previous podcast still hold true. I'm indifferent at best. He's already giving quotes out about how it's his offense, and things of that nature.
Clay Helton did say it was his ship.
I know, but I just feel like they're a team. It's the Trojan offense. It's not really Cliff Kingsbury's offense. If you know what I mean. If you catch my drift.
So
I feel like the power struggle is, the narrative's already starting to write itself.
Do you think so?
I think so.
So you think Clay's not really going to do that? Because the air raid is pretty distinct.
It's true.
It's not like you'll know. Like if they come out and there's I formations and all this stuff, split backs, then it's like, okay, that's USC stuff. What Pat Mahomes has got going over there at Tech, that's not anything like that. So I honestly don't think they can go. They can't go half measure. You got to go full Kingsbury.
You got to. I agree.
In order for it to work. It's just my opinion.
I agree. But I just think that works or doesn't work. I just think the two coaches are going to be always pitted against each other, and that's a recipe for disaster, regardless of how good they are.
Very much so, yes.
Allegedly, Cliff Kingsbury gets to pick what quarterback he wants to use, so that's already a fun one. Because everyone knows that Clay Helton's a JT Daniels man, and depending on who you listen to, there was some team mutiny on if Jack Sears should be the new starting quarterback.
Really?
So I don't know how true that is. I kind of like 20% believe that happened.
So I saw today that there's supposed to be an open quarterback competition.
Yes.
Um, so that's something you hear a lot. What, in order for it to be a real quarterback competition, what do you think needs to happen?
I mean, just split reps in the spring and the summer. It's just at least both guys are on campus now. Both guys know the offense, so I think it'll be obvious to what you hear from the reports coming out of practice if it's really an open competition or not. Allegedly, last summer was an open competition, so
Yeah.
if JT Daniels can beat out Jack Sears with only knowing a little bit of the playbook, I mean, I guess neither of them know the playbook now, so. So yeah, I mean, I assume Daniels wins. I just the way things work, right? Like
Yeah.
this is 2018. I'm no dummy.
See, I think if you have a real open competition,
Uh-huh.
then the backup needs to go out with the first team,
Okay.
and they need to tell Daniels like, hey, you need to outplay him. Because if it's your job, like you started for us all last year, we went 5-7. So if it's your job, then you need to outplay this guy.
That's
If
true.
if
But
it's
but
even,
I don't
I'm
even know
going
who the
with him.
first team is at USC. If we're being honest,
What do you mean?
like
Well, I mean, Daniel started the whole year,
right.
so that's the first team.
But I mean, a lot of offensive linemen are leaving or weren't good. You don't really know who the best wide receivers are. There's a bunch of running backs. Like there's some plug and play options for the
I
USC
mean,
offense.
whoever goes out there with Vaughns, Pittman, and St. Brown,
Right.
that's who the first team is.
Right.
Unless they want to stagger those guys, which I guess could be a thing, right? Because look, I'll be on record. Like Velus Jones is gonna have a huge year.
You did say that.
That is my prediction. He's gonna be enormous. So
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Speaking of receivers at USC, the recruiting class is still waiting on their top 5 recruit in the nation, Brew McCoy from Mater Dei, to commit to USC. And without him, and I believe there's another receiver from Orange Lutheran, or
Kyle Ford.
yeah, who's another 5-star prospect. Without those two guys, USC's recruiting class
Doesn't look good, Michael.
Doesn't look good. Does
People
not
are
look
upset.
good. People are very mad.
Are they 21 right now?
I think so. I think they ended in. They're still in the 20s, less than 25, more than 20. So they're somewhere in there,
Yeah.
depending on who you ask.
I feel like
So,
they can
yeah.
get to 10.
That's a real win if they get to 10.
Yeah, I think they can get to 10 with those two guys, and they got a couple other 4-stars that they're in play for.
Right.
So I think they can get to 10, which isn't a total disaster.
No, I think that's fine. A top 10 recruiting class. I mean, you could say that with a smile.
I think outside of the top 15 is not great.
Disaster.
Not
I
splendid.
mean, the problem is they're losing Los Angeles guys to Oregon. Like they lost 2 or 3. And
Yeah,
I don't
but
really
no-
care about recruiting all that much, but, that can't happen.
Well, you don't care about it because you take it for granted.
I do. On
That's
record,
why you don't
take
care.
it for granted.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
There was a thing today. Maybe it was over the weekend. I'm a little confused because of Christmas. So this year's top defensive back hasn't signed yet.
Steele.
It's Steele, and he was a USC guy, and he decommitted, and he's probably not gonna sign with USC. You never know. Stranger things. Everyone loves Cliff Kingsbury. He plays defense, and then next year's top DB has signed with LSU or verbally committed to LSU. So that means the 2 top defensive backs from Southern California are not going to USC, and that's probably the first time that's happened in years.
Yeah.
So that's rough. That just doesn't look good.
Well,
I mean, Oregon got their first 5-star recruit ever, right, or something like that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Notre Dame still doesn't have one.
Wasn't their best guy like a tight end or something?
No, as a safety.
Oh,
People
okay.
actually like he could be considered if you want like some one service at least is going to have him as a 5-star player.
Okay.
But like he was one of these guys where like when he committed, he was their lowest rated recruit, and like they had, it's not like oh they had a bunch of high rated guys. Like no, he was like a middling 3-star, and then he just kind of blew up on the recruiting scene, probably in combination to where he played well on the camp circuit, and every big school in the nation was treating him
Ah,
like a 5-star player. So then those services were just kind of like we should probably bump him up. So like 247 in their home rankings has him like 22nd in the nation. So I mean you can
okay.
call him a 5-star if you want, but technically not.
Technically not. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, what didn't USC have like a no-star guy that signs with USC and becomes a 3-star overnight
Oh yeah, that's right.
during early signing day? So I
Yeah.
mean, rankings are fluid. It's okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think what other USC news there is before we switch over to Notre Dame. But recruiting is a big one. Everyone's very sore about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they got some JUCO guys coming in. I don't really remember USC being jazzed about JUCO guys coming over. So that's also a weird sign.
I actually
Um,
played with a guy who John Drake was his name. He played guard for
hmm,
USC during like their title years.
hmm, that's fun.
Yeah, he started at guard.
Wow.
I think he won one of the national titles, and I think they how they had the one in '03 where it was like they claimed the national title
Yes.
but they didn't actually win it.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if they got a ring for that. So if you want, you could call him a 2-time national champion.
I'll do that. It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask the NCAA, it's a 0-time national champion, but because Reggie Bush's family getting money is, punishable by death. But everything else, all the other schools in the SEC do is fine.
Yes. That whole thing has not aged very well for the
No,
NCAA.
no, it really hasn't.
No.
It's like, sorry, you can't be national champions anymore. Oh, no, North Carolina fake classes, no big deal.
No, it's fine.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, that's no problem.
I think that's it for USC. They had their team banquets, but I think we'll get to that when we do our awards. I feel like since Notre Dame is still playing games that count, we shouldn't have.
Games do count, Michael.
Well, bowl games don't really usually count, but we should
No,
give
I
out
mean,
awards afterwards.
definitely count.
Yeah. So
Thank goodness.
these games still count. So let's do it. Let's get to the team that's a winner, the team that's undefeated, the team that's still in this thing, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And you got some big helpful news over Christmas.
I don't know if did we find out the verdict today?
I thought I saw that so the Clemson kid allegedly or got popped for steroids.
Dexter Lawrence, a
Yes.
performance enhancer. I don't know if it's
Okay, fair enough.
term steroids or what.
We were Googling it at Christmas, and I don't remember which
Right,
one it was.
Ostarine or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So
Um,
so he's good,
he's
and he's
very
he's
good,
he's not playing. I thought I saw he wasn't playing.
like top
But
20 pick. Yeah,
yeah,
very good player.
so that's helpful.
It doesn't hurt, Michael. Um, they do have two other first team All Americans on their defensive line, so
Yes.
they are rather deep. But he's like a 350-pound person, so that he won't be in there doesn't hurt what Notre Dame is trying to do. That's for sure.
It helps clear things up in the middle. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
But all right. So what the game is coming down the pipeline. What day is it? I don't.
Within 2 days, Michael.
Yeah, I mean it's right around the corner.
Yes, it's on
Right?
Saturday. It's
That's it,
kind of weird
Saturday. I was
how,
trying to do my math. I was like, what day is it?
yeah, Tim and I were emailing today, and it's like, oh, they're actually gonna play soon.
Yeah, like I keep
Like it's
thinking
upon
today's
us.
Sunday.
Yeah, it's like very much game week.
So we're here. We're in this.
Yes, and I don't know. It's been difficult. Like thinking about the game and what Notre Dame has to do and like the matchups and all this other hocus pocus. I'm looking at Clemson's schedule, and they haven't really played anyone who's good,
They
but
sure haven't.
it's like you look at the way that they play, and like they're destroying teams.
But
So it's like,
who have they played? They play in the ACC.
well, their best win is, I guess, Texas A&M.
Okay.
They won by 2. That was
And
on
that
the
was like
road.
week 1, right? Week 1 or 2, right?
It was, yeah. This is when Kelly Bryant was still starting at quarterback for them.
Yeah.
They won by 2. A&M missed a 2-point conversion with like no time on the clock or minimal seconds on the clock, and that was kind of a weird game. Um, you know, the thing about Clemson is, when people talk about they haven't played anyone, the gap of talent between Clemson and these teams that they play is so much greater. So like I was
I
looking
mean,
at
they're a top 5 recruiting class every year, right? For the past couple years.
yes. So well, kind of not. So
Oh,
like last year and the year before, yes, but like 3-4 years ago, not really. So if you go on 247 site, they have a thing called the team talent rankings. And so basically, like they just keep updated rosters on all the teams, and they just kind of compile like, okay, this is how many 5 stars, this is how many 4 stars and 3 stars, etc. So Clemson is sixth on that, and Notre Dame is 10th. But the difference between like 6 and 10 is like Clemson has 5 stars in their team, and Notre Dame has 1, and then like they have 37 3 stars, and Notre Dame has like 44 or something like that. I mean,
okay.
4 stars. So it's like the difference is having 8 more 5 star players. It's just such a big deal. They got the
Right.
quarterback, they got the defensive linemen, they got a couple receivers. I mean, these are their best players. Um, so like when Clemson goes against a team like, let's say, Pitt, the
Okay.
gap in talent is so much bigger that like Pitt can't compete with some of these guys that they have, like the running back and the receivers and the quarterback and the defensive line. And so you get a blowout. Whereas when Notre Dame plays a team like Pitt, the gap is a lot less. So it's like you can get a close game against Pitt, or you can get a close game against Northwestern. Um, but then the same is true where it's like when Notre Dame plays Clemson, the gap is smaller than it is against those other teams. So you can't just like out athlete Notre Dame. You
Right.
actually have
They're still a good enough team to where they yeah that they
like you
have
have to
they have,
execute you have to execute consistent offense like throughout the game, right? You can't just throw the ball up and we'll catch it and then we'll run for a touchdown. So or we'll just like, oh, we'll break a long run and then that's just it. And like we'll win just by our guys being that much better than you. And I mean that's what you see with Alabama too. Like Alabama is no different. Like they finally played a team that could match their talent and they almost got beat. And the team that Clemson played that is closest to them in team talent was Texas A&M, and they were 16th, and they won by 2 points.
right.
So
But
we just have
Clemson
to.
had some other close ones. They had a close one with Syracuse. Then they have a
They did
close
have a
one
close
with
one against Syracuse, yeah, and that's
just
another example. Like,
South Carolina scored a bunch of points, but it wasn't really close.
yeah, and this is another example. Like sometimes, Syracuse had a good team this year, and they scuffled a little bit. So, if you can keep those guys, if you could just make them, like be consistent, sustain drives, have to go 10, 11 plays to score touchdowns or to score points. Um, you don't really know how it's going to work out. Like, how good are they really if they can't just hit 80-yard bombs?
Right. Do whatever they want.
Yeah,
Well, that's free will.
yeah. So,
So,
so that's that.
so
But
what?
that being said, Clemson is great. Like
Yeah,
they're
they're good.
really good,
They're good.
really good team.
I feel like of the three other teams that aren't Notre Dame, I still feel like you'd want to play Clemson
Um,
if I were Notre Dame.
I'd I'd take my chances with Oklahoma.
I just don't know. I don't know if Notre Dame could keep up.
Here's the thing: is I want to play. I want to play the team that I know doesn't have a good defense.
Okay,
You know what I mean? Like they expect to give up points. Like
that's
that's
true. That's true. I mean, you're going to score more points than you normally do, just because that's what Oklahoma does. The whole idea is they're going to outscore you, right?
and has not played a defense like our defense this year.
True.
You know, it just hasn't happened. And we have played a defense like theirs, and it's not very good. So it's like we haven't played a quarterback like they've got either. But like we are 4 in defense, and they are like in the 70s or something.
Yeah,
So
not good.
yeah. So I would want to take my chances with
See, but I
them.
think Clemson's going to be close, and I feel like in a close game, Notre Dame's there.
Right.
They just gotta one stop. It's all they need is one stop.
And the thing about it
I guess
is,
it's the same against Oklahoma, right? It's just the stops happening when the score's in the 40s as opposed to when the score's in the 20s.
yes, yes, yeah. So that in that situation, but like it's a different thing. So the offense, like the pressures on the offense,
Right.
it's like you like how many drives are we going to have on offense where we don't score points? Like it can't be that many.
Yeah. Whereas
So
against Clemson, you can have a couple because you assume that
yeah,
you're
like
also going to stop
the
their
pressure's on
offense.
a different side.
Yeah.
See, the thing for Notre Dame that I'm kind of excited about
Ooh, I like this.
is well, not I don't know if I'm excited, like it gives me a good feeling, but I like that since Michigan, and this is week 1. So since week 1, every game that Notre Dame has played has been a situation where if it's close in the fourth quarter, then Notre Dame isn't really something's going wrong. Like the pressure, like Notre Dame is the team that feels tight, not the other way around. You could say, like, I guess Stanford, because no, that's not true. Stanford was like that you expected a close game in the fourth quarter because they were ranked 7 when they played.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like ever since that Stanford game, any game close in the fourth quarter, Notre Dame is the team that feels tight because they've been favored pretty heavily. And this game isn't like that. If Notre Dame is close in the fourth quarter, then
That's
they
a,
feel
that's a
like,
good thing.
hey, like not only do we have a chance, but we've got them because we've been playing with them for 3 quarters.
Okay.
So I feel like if Notre Dame even got to halftime and it was close, they would feel like, okay, we can handle this team. We can do
And,
what we've been doing all year.
and we all know Notre Dame's a second half team.
We all know Notre Dame's a second half team.
So really,
It
if they can keep it close, Clemson might be in trouble.
right because Notre Dame then they'll build confidence in that. It's like, hey, we can do this. And Clemson's the team that's like, oh man, like we're favored by 14. What's going on? You know, like we're actually in a dogfight. Like now we have to execute
We got to
every
think about
we have
this.
to
We
do
got to
every little thing correct in this
right.
game. Whereas in the other games we don't because we're so much better. Like now all of a sudden we have to do the little things. Like we have to make the extra block, we have to make that extra tackle. Um, we have to run that route extra crisp or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
here's a question: who do you think is a better coach, Brian Kelly or Davo Sweeney?
Dabo.
Strictly X's and O's.
I mean Dabo,
Really?
because I mean,
I
who is
guess he has a
he?
national title,
He
so
beat
that's
Nick Saban. Not only does he have a national title, he beat Nick Saban, and he beat Urban Meyer twice because they played. The first big win they ever had was in the Fiesta Bowl or whatever it was, and this wasn't a playoff game, but they beat Ohio State in that game. Then they played him in the playoffs and they beat him 31-0.
true.
And then they beat Nick Saban. Like you
Those
beat
are
Nick
some. Those
Saban,
are some big wins.
you beat Nick Saban, and you beat Urban Meyer in like elimination games. You you're a good coach.
And Brian Kelly's over in both those scenarios.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's beaten good coaches, and like
Just
I
not
was,
those two particular coaches.
yeah, like people talk about like, oh, Notre Dame, they can't win they haven't won a major bowl game in X amount of years. Like that's fine, but like they've beaten some really good teams in the regular season. Like those games count. Like don't tell me they can't play with the big boys. They lost to Georgia by 1 point last year, and they beat
Right.
Michigan, and they beat USC last year when they had Sam Darnold.
A good USC team.
Yeah, like they won on the road against Oklahoma against Bob Stoops. Like Bob Stoops is like a blue chip coach.
That's true. Or at least he was back then.
Yeah, but at the time, so like
Yeah.
they could play with these teams. It's just like it's different when it's a bowl game. It hasn't happened in the bowl game.
But yeah, but now that there's more bowl games that matter too, it's like, come on, who would they play? Was it the Sugar Bowl against Ohio State a couple years ago?
Fiesta Bowl.
Fiesta Bowl. Yeah, it's like, who cares? Honestly, like,
Right, and like Notre Dame had a bunch of guys who were hurt, and Jalen Smith got hurt in the first quarter.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, that probably took the air out of the room.
right, exactly, yeah.
So
So,
I'm not bowl record is not like the biggest litmus test for me on how good a coach is.
right,
I mean, Clay Helton won a Rose Bowl,
there you go.
like, or James Franklin lost a Rose Bowl. However you want to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year for me, um, like with this game, I keep thinking about like I'm gonna write about this tomorrow morning. It's like the two coordinators for Notre Dame. Like it's such a big game for those guys because it's like you go to Notre Dame and they've played in some big games like I was telling you, but now it's like the big boys. Like this is the elite of the elite now, and are they ready for that?
This is where you make your bones.
Exactly. It's like that's how you become like you get this national reputation. Like Brett Venables has at Clemson. Like the best of the best in defensive coordinator. Like that's where Notre Dame's coaches want to get to. And like for Chip Long on offense, like he can't just be predictable. Like Clemson can't know what Notre Dame is doing. He has to keep them off balance. He has to call plays that they don't really expect. Because the thing that people I don't think realize if you haven't played is how often the defense knows based on formation, personnel, down and distance, like
What's
motion.
coming?
They know the play either exactly what it is or within like 1 to 2 plays that they can run out of a certain formation.
They have a general idea.
Yeah, just because all the film study.
Well, I mean, that's what everyone was talking about with the Los Angeles Rams this year, right? Wasn't that the big,
That
what
they
were
got
they?
predictable.
No, they're not. Oh, they weren't at
Oh,
least.
right,
They would run the same formations that no one would know what's coming,
right.
or the same
And
personnel and no one would know what's coming.
yeah, so if you can't, and the thing is like you can't if you can't predict it, like if you play defense and you're out there thinking, I'm not sure what, like they could run anything. That's when you get beat because then the defensive coordinator can't get a rhythm. Like he can't
You're out
call
there
the
guessing.
right defense. Yeah, like I have to guess right, and you're usually going to guess wrong. And that's where Chip Long needs to be on offensive coordinator. Like, how am I going to use formations to do things that they haven't seen, that they're not ready for, that they can't predict? And then they just have to kind of play straight up. And when they're doing that, then they can't attack and they're on their heels a little bit. And that's how you attack them. If you're just doing stuff and it's like, hey, we know they're going to run, read option or zone read or whatever, they're going to destroy them because they're too good for that. Those guys, you can't just run at them. You can't just say, hey, guess what? You know what we're doing, and we're going to kick your ass. Like, no. That's not going to work.
So since we're talking about the offense, who is going to be your prediction offensive MVP for the Fighting Irish?
It better be the quarterback.
And if it's not, they're in trouble?
And if it's not, like, because
it can't be Dexter Williams?
I can't imagine that it's Dexter Williams just because they'll eventually just take him away.
You are Dexter Williams' #1 supporter. So,
well, it's just like he could, because unless he breaks off, even if he broke off one big run, right? He wouldn't have like four of them. So if he breaks off one big one early, I can't imagine it's like, hey, we're running for 6, 7 yards a carry. Like eventually they're just going to take him away,
Okay.
and then it's up to the quarterback. And I feel like they run so many RPOs anyway. Like it's really up to him. I mean, it's such a huge game for him as far as like, dude, if you don't play well, then Notre Dame doesn't have a chance. Like, no chance. And it's not really like that for Clemson's quarterback. He can be average and they can win. If Ian Book is average, Notre Dame will lose probably pretty big.
Okay.
Just so they won't be able to score points. Like, because they might be able to still move the ball, but I don't see them getting a bunch of big plays for scores on Clemson. So that means they need to be efficient when they get into the scoring zone.
And
And
that
if he's
means
average,
that
then
means
they're not.
touchdowns.
Yeah, and if he's average, then they're not. So,
Okay.
so yeah, it better be a quarterback.
It better be him. All right, fair.
Yeah.
What about Notre Dame's defense? What do they? I mean, they've been stout all year. They've been, I think, a little unheralded for how good they've played.
I would say the defensive ends,
Okay.
Kareem and Okwara. Like if they have big games, then I like Notre Dame's chances.
We're talking about quarterback sacks, hits, pressures. Talking
Just
about
like
keep
pressures.
contained.
As much as anything, pressures. Don't let him
Okay.
stand back there. Like make him make decisions. Because if you let him stand back there, then I mean, they got some dudes on their receiving core. Like they can make plays. And
And we know Notre Dame has good defensive backs.
yes, and not just that, but like also like the defensive ends against the run too. Like they need to be big because it needs to be a situation where they don't have to commit too many players to stopping the run. Because if they have to commit players, then I mean Notre Dame has good corners, but those guys have really good receivers. And the way that Notre Dame had been doing it against USC, against Syracuse, and Florida State, like they've just been basically saying, like, look, we're gonna just put five in the box and try to run it. And even if you do run it a little bit, like we're fine. Like eventually you're gonna get bored of it and you're gonna try to do something else, and that's when we'll get you. And it works against those bad teams, but not against this team.
A disciplined coach with a good team may not
With a
fall for
great
that trap.
running game, if you
Yeah.
try to do this against Clemson, they will run all over them, and they will have no chance. So, I feel like Notre Dame will probably commit 6 and not 5, but the defensive ends have to be they have to be great, not just good.
But they've been good all year, so there's
They
no.
have been, and you know what? And here's another thing, Michael,
All right.
is how I feel about these things. And I used to tell Timmy this when we talk about, the Lakers.
Okay.
It's true. So when the Lakers were in the playoffs, and only, especially when they were losing, like after
I was gonna
2010,
say, so this must have been a while ago.
yeah, like after 2010 when they won the title, like in 2011 and 2012, and they would lose in the playoffs, and I was like, like Kobe and Powell, like they're not playing like stars anymore. And if they're not stars, then what are they hoping for? And I feel like this is the type of game where, like pound for pound, like player for player, Clemson has more good players.
Mm-hmm.
But Notre Dame's best players have to be like spectacular. Like Julian Love, first team All American, right? Almost unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
Like he needs to play like a first team All American. Like don't be giving up stuff. It can't happen. Jerry Tillery, Tevon Coney, Drew Tranquil. Like they need to be like you need to watch and be like those guys are the best players on the field. They're playing like the best players on the field. And that's how it needs to be for Ian Book as well. Like, find a way to be the better quarterback in this game.
I think he could do it.
Because that's why you're here. You are in the playoffs because you've been playing great.
Right.
They are in the playoffs. They are the number 4 defense because of Jerry Tillery, because of Julian Love, because of Drew Tranquil, because of Tavon Coney. That's why you're in the playoffs. So you can't be average. You can't just be a guy out there, You can't be a guy out there just playing your role. Like, I'm doing my thing. You guys need to do your thing. Like, no. You need to lead. You need to lead from the
playmaker.
You need to be the best players.
Okay.
That's why you're here.
So our friends in Las Vegas have Notre Dame as a 10-point underdog.
Whoa. Is it 10?
Oh, it's 10. I looked right before we started.
Where?
What do you think? What do you think it is? I'll look right now while you.
The last I heard, it was because of this guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say, the last I heard, it was 13.5.
Let's see. It opened at 10, by the way.
It did open at 10.
Let's see here. What does ESPN have it? Let's see. But yes, I assume the steroid suspension is moving the line. Give me a second.
This is good content.
This is great content. I mean, yeah, we're rusty. We haven't done this in a while.
It's fine.
At least there's not a baby crying in the background. Small victories. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. Notre Dame says 12.5. I mean, ESPN says 12.5.
I don't see the line moving that much. Like,
but I looked right before we started because I'm a diligent podcaster from VegasInsiders.com.
Just because, like, he's a good player, but like Clemson would have to lose 8 guys before I was like, oh, okay. Notre Dame's got him.
Let's see.
Like, if it was Christian Wilkins, then I'd be like, whoa. Like, that would move the line quite a bit. Or the other guy, the other defensive end. I can't think of his name, but
yeah.
Again, those.
So some of them have. Let's see.
Come on, Michael.
I just looked to make sure I was looking in the right column, and then I lost the game. So some of them have 12.5. Some of them have. All right, we'll call it 12.5. That does seem to be the
let's say
average.
12.5.
All right. So Notre Dame, 12.5 point underdog.
What am I doing? Taking the points? Yeah, I'm taking the points.
Well, here before we get to points.
Okay.
What do you think's going to happen? Put your genie hat on. You're a prognosticator. You can see into the future.
I think what do I think is going to happen?
Little 1 p.m. start time.
I think Notre Dame is going to be. I think Notre Dame will have the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to tie or take the lead. That's what I think.
Okay. All right.
Or like to
at some point in the fourth quarter, they will have a chance to
tie or take the lead. Yeah.
Tie or take the lead.
Yeah.
So how do you think the game will end then?
How do I think the game will end?
Yes, on the points wise. Because you have a chance, you can still get blown out.
No, like I'm envisioning a scenario where like Notre Dame has the ball with 4 minutes left, and it's like they need to score to tie or score to take the lead.
Down 7 or down 4.
Down 7 or 4 or something like that. Yeah, but that's what I think.
So you're giving the points, or taking?
I'm taking the points. Yeah.
All right. I'm also.
They're not gonna. I just don't. Like, they could get blown out. Like, there's absolutely a scenario where it's like Clemson just hits a bunch of big plays.
Yeah, but
like, I think Notre Dame can go blown out. Clemson cannot get blown out in this game, in my opinion.
Okay.
It would. I mean, they just have to be turning the ball over like 4 or 5 times.
All
Um,
right.
so, but I don't think like Notre Dame's just not going to get blown out in this game. I think they've been, I think they've been pooped on all year. And it's just not going to happen.
This isn't it.
But like, I don't like. Am I going to predict a win? Like, it's just going to be one of those games. Like who's going to make the play at the end? Who's going to make the big plays? Like, who's going to make the play to actually win the game? Hopefully, it's my team.
Hopefully. So, since you're a 3-time dad, how will you be watching the game? That's the real. That's
It's
my,
a
that's
good
the real
question.
the question everyone wants to know.
Timmy's in town.
The idea where I actually won't be in town.
Where are you going,
I'll be in Utah.
Michael?
I know.
That's not okay.
That's not okay.
Timmy's in town, so he's gonna come over.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm watching with Timmy.
Wow.
I'm thinking we'll just be at our house.
No, he have his kids, so you can just have like 9 kids.
No. It's just him.
Okay.
He's only here for like a couple days.
Yeah.
So
He's here for the exact amount of time I'm gone for.
That's funny.
So,
That's funny. So I think he's just gonna watch it at our house. The only thing I'm nervous about is like we stream, like we have YouTube TV. So
you've cut the cord?
Yeah, we cut the cord. So it makes me kind of nervous to be relying on the internet. And plus, like sometimes, like the screen buffers or whatever, so the picture isn't like perfect.
I do.
Did you cut the cord?
No, I have DirecTV.
Yeah, so
I'm weak.
That's what I'm nervous about. Like it hasn't been a problem all year, but we could just go down to my parents. They're $5 away, and they have DirecTV. We could just watch it there.
Okay.
So maybe I'll do that.
And the kids understand that Dad needs this moment.
Well, Wes will be sleeping.
You hope.
So the boy will be sleeping. No. He does not miss naps. That's the good thing about him. At 1 o'clock, he is definitely sleeping. Our daughter, the 4-year-old, she will be. She could come to my parents. That's fine. And then Amy will probably stay with the baby here, actually. So what I could do, honestly, I'll bet you this is what happens.
Okay.
My mom will come over here with Amy, and they'll watch the game here, and I'll go, and the guys will watch it at my parents'. I think that's going to be the thing.
Okay.
So that probably is for the best, actually.
Probably.
Yes.
It could go badly.
Well, yeah. And it's like I can't yell. I especially can't yell with the baby around. I would get in real trouble for that.
I mean, you could.
I could. I could also
You got to train her, man.
I could also call the divorce lawyer tomorrow just to get that person fired up and ready to go.
You got to teach the kid to sleep through noises.
She is I mean, as you know, babies, they have this ability. Like if they're tired, it doesn't matter.
Hey, if I want everyone to hate me even more, besides being the USC fan on this thing, my 3-month-old baby sleeps through the night. So, and she's done it for like a month and a half.
Well, here's the thing, Michael. So we actually 3 days into our daughter being born, she was like 9 to 2. And then she was like 9. Like we actually started having to wake her up at like 3 o'clock.
That's how we were.
And now we have to wake her up earlier because she's not gaining enough weight. Because we started.
Yeah, that's what we had to do too.
We bit off. Like we got greedy and we were like, oh, she's sleeping.
Let's push this. Let's push
sleep.
This.
Yeah, let's get this sleep.
Dude, I don't know if people aren't parents. Like that middle of the night feeding is awful. It's like the worst.
Well, no, there's nothing worse than interrupted sleep, Michael.
Yeah, there's nothing worse.
Yeah, it's the hardest when it's your first one though, because you're just not used to it. So now for us, it's like, all right, this is a thing we have to do, and that's just the way it goes. But
still, man, I don't know.
It's tough. It's freaking the worst. It's so
Then there's no
hard.
way to train for it.
No,
Everyone thinks like, oh yeah, I know I did. Like, oh yeah, I could get up. I don't sleep a lot. It's not that big a deal. No,
no.
it's terrible.
Well, it's not just waking up; it's the shrieking crying.
And you got to be locked in. You have like a job to do. Like
Yeah,
it's not just like you're up. Like okay, I'm gonna watch some TV
yeah,
and fall back to sleep. It's like I have a set amount of time to do something under duress.
yeah. And
Let's go.
the problem for me is like I'm the go-to put her to sleep
Uh,
person. I just unfortunately I have a talent for it. So
it's your calm demeanor.
I know it's terrible. It's terrible.
All right. Well, hey, it was great to be back on the podcast.
Yes,
I almost forgot how this works.
I
So,
know.
but it was the holidays. It was the holidays. No one missed us.
No, no one cares, Michael.
No one missed. So we're back.
Except for my dad.
We're back for the bowl game.
My dad was yelling at me. When are you going to do the podcast?
It's okay. We got time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're back for the podcast. The game's on Saturday, which is great. So that puts us on our normal schedule.
Mm-hmm.
We'll continue the tradition of at least doing one podcast a season from out of the state. So that I thought I had shaken that, but I'll be good to go. I've already cleared it with everyone.
Good stuff.
So great. Greg is writing articles at uhnd.com. Apparently, still where he finds the time, I don't know. So everyone should read them. just out of charity.
Between 5 and 7 a.m., Michael. That's when they get written.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
You're a scholar and a gentleman. He's Greg2126 on Twitter. You should at him. It's Notre Dame. It's bowl game. It's the playoffs. You should get him all fired up. I know he's still on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Tilting Ground on Twitter. We'll have a new one up after the playoff game, hopefully previewing a national title game for the Fighting Irish. And other than that, fight on.
Go Irish.